Hi. Now 35 male met my wife Annabelle. Now 34. When we were in college, my family was lower middle class and I was hustling to make sure student loans didn't kill me post-graduation. At first, everything seemed great. She was truly my rock through some really hard times. I struggled with anxiety and depression as well as imposter syndrome. She had her own struggles too. I thought we fit well. My parents and sister always told me that while she seemed nice enough, something was this only increased when Annabelle dropped out of college and shared her plans to become a housewife, stay-at-home mom one day. So she didn't need a degree. Back then. There was no guarantee that I would have a high-paying job, but I also didn't mind her staying home with our future kids. Then I got an offer for my dream job. 6 figures company, car travel, the works. They'd also paid for me to obtain my master's, something that seemed out of reach considering I was drowning in student loan debt. I could finally move out of my parents' house and get one of my own. I used part of my signing bonus to buy an engagement ring for Annabelle because I began dating her prior to the money. I never imagined that she was with me for anything else. She loved me. When I was a broke college student, we had planned our futures back then. How was it different? My family tried to point out the red flags. Annabelle planned an over-the-top expensive wedding. She wanted the biggest house she could find. My signing bonus was drained rather quickly and I was worried about not saving enough. I constantly told her to slow down. We don't need the best of everything, and she would for a while. Then it would pick up again. We had 2 children together who are now 8 and 4. The big spending got worse when they came along. But again, I was okay with it. I was making good money, we could afford it. Annabelle grew up in a similar situation as me. So I figured she just wanted to spoil the kids. Then I got laid off from my job. It wasn't out of nowhere. The field I was in has slowly begun to dwindle over the years. I stayed on as long as I could. But at this point, the company is going under. Annabelle was worried when I relayed the news, but I informed her we had our savings. We'd be okay until I found work again. I was hired at a new company in a similar but different field within a month. The catch: I am making significantly less. It's enough to live off of. We can stay in our house. But things need to change. I pointed out that our kids can't go to private school anymore. We can't take multiple lavish trips a year. No more frivolous spending. She wasn't happy. But again, I gave her grace. It's a big adjustment. Even for me. Just 2 months after I started at my new job, Annabelle came to me and said, "I don't think I can do this anymore." I was taken off guard and we had several discussions that amounted to her taking the kids to be with her mother while we took a break. I already knew our marriage was over. No one can come back from a breakup unscathed. Sure enough, a few weeks after she moved out, she told me she wanted a divorce. She claimed we had grown apart, said I worked too many hours at my last job and I was never around while. It's true. I did work a lot. I was home every night for dinner. We had all of the weekend together. I traveled often, but she always came with me up until our oldest started elementary school. She never complained about a damn thing. In fact, I once said I was tired from working a long week and I felt guilty that she was home alone with 2 kids. But she assured me she was happy. I asked her several times if it was about me losing money. She denied it up and down. She married me so young and needed to see what was out there. She put it all on me naively. I told myself that this was what happened. When you marry your college sweetheart, you grow apart. I didn't want to believe that my entire marriage had been a lie within 2 weeks of filing for divorce. She was with someone new. The reality came crashing down. She tried to play it off as they just so happened to meet, but they moved fast. She was moving in with him within 3 months. They were engaged before our divorce was even final. This guy is a surgeon who makes 6 figures a year. I don't know if the cheating began when I got laid off or before. I suppose it doesn't matter. We're divorced now due to my schedule. I only see my kids every weekend and I hate it. I regret not making Annabelle sign a prenup as she got half of everything. My family is aware that she's moved on and I know they have their suspicions, but we've never spoken about it in the 3 years since the divorce. They have never honored. I told you so, even though I deserve it. I went from loving Annabelle to despising her. I love my children very much, but I hate that I wasted 10 years on a woman who only wanted me for my money. I should have saved so much more, but she either squandered it on useless junk when we were married or took half in the divorce. Damn, I hate her. This is the second story for this video. I will also leave a link in the description for this story. I want to say that I realize some of you have marriages that are crumbling and some of you have children. What you're going through is bigger than what I am. And I don't want to diminish what you're going through. I'm asking for advice about my girlfriend, but this is someone whom I was contemplating marrying and having a kid with before this news came out. I'm really struggling with whether or not this relationship is worth continuing. I want to, but it feels incredibly exhausting. I don't know what feelings I have are valid, invalid, positive or negative. I don't know what is worth talking about with her and what I need to work on myself or even keep to myself. I understand that talking about the affair can send our day or time into a spiral together. So I find myself avoiding talking about it even when it's on my mind. This most certainly impacts the way I show up in the relationship, and she can almost always tell something is wrong because I either get quiet or try to distance myself for the day. I don't know how to move forward. And I would really like everyone's opinion or help. I feel like explaining what happened. We better paint a picture. About 8 months ago, I started dating my partner. We had known each other for several years because we had once worked together. Things were wonderful between us. However, I recognized things were moving very quickly. I had recently gotten out of a long-term relationship when I started dating my girlfriend. So I hadn't exactly had the time and space to heal from that. I found the momentum of my new relationship taking over, and I found myself trying to seek a commitment with her, possibly in order to lock her down, make her my girlfriend. I recognize now that this was a mistake. She explained that she had a trip planned roughly a month away to go across the country to visit a friend with benefits. Let's call her Matt, that she had attended concerts with, and that she didn't feel like being in a relationship at the time was something she wanted to. Initially, I was understanding of this and wanted to respect this. As I mentioned before, things between the two of us were moving very quickly. Even though we were not committed to each other, neither of us were actively dating anybody else and would gush over each other. Tell each other we loved each other. Things felt wonderful. But in the back of my mind, the idea of the looming trip lingered. I expressed to her that because she had the trip plan, I thought it would be best to reel things back and just be friends. I didn't want to risk her break because I knew the odds of something happening would be extremely high. She understood this, but we would both go back and forth about continuing to see and spend time with each other. It was hard to stay away because of our love infatuation. We would discuss not spending time with each other until after she gets back. And then one of us would get weak and seek each other out. After this continued for roughly 3 weeks. The trip was roughly 1 week out. At this point, I asked her if she would cancel her trip and flight and/or the possibility of us and what we could be. She was unwilling to do this and said that she needed to close this chapter out before moving forward with me. I remember speaking to my therapist at the time, and she said that it sounds like she wants her pie and to eat it too anyways. I came to accept that she was going. That was that, and there wasn't anything I could do about it other than learn to be okay with it. I changed positions and accepted that she was going. However, I said, I realized that you want to go on this trip, but just because you're going doesn't mean you have to be physical with this person. Initially, she was trying to defend leaving the possibility of something physical happening, to which I explained, I didn't understand given how we said we felt about each other. After discussing things for a while, she told me that she agreed that she would be monogamous with me and out of her, and that nothing would happen on her trip. She even went as far as contacting the guy she was going to visit and telling him about me and how we're exclusive and that she wants him to respect that boundary when she comes to visit. I feel naive for believing this. Now, halfway through her trip, she called me early in the morning crying. I asked her if everything was okay. She said, "Yes, I just miss you and I'm feeling a little homesick." I asked, "Did anything happen between the two of you?" She replied, "No, nothing like that happened." I told her that I loved her and that I was looking forward to seeing her in a couple of days. Fast forward to the day she came back. I was excited to see her. But I also had a suspicion that something happened. I chose not to pressure her or ask her again if anything happened and chose to move forward in building our relationship. I felt at the time this would show that I was not bothered and not insecure. It's important for me to also state that she continued to have a platonic texting friendship with this individual that she saw on her trip from the time when she came back until now. I believe she had been keeping things appropriate for the most part that I could see as to continuing months went on. Things overall were going really well. She started inviting me to family gatherings to meet her friends, going on vacations, and even professed that she wanted to get married to me and have a child together. All of these things made me feel great. I was so happy to hear how much she was into our relationship. About a month and a half ago, we went to Texas to visit her family. It was overall a great trip. There was eventually a conversation about a big concert that was going to be happening near our hometown this summer, to which I asked her if she wanted to go. She told me honestly, "I think Matt is going to be flying there to see that concert, and out of respect for you and to avoid awkwardness, I don't think I want to go." This initially made me feel good that she was being respectful of our relationship. I asked her if she thought it would be hard to go with me and see him there, to which she replied, "No, I think that it would be totally fine and he would be respectful as he has been of our relationship." She went on to say that I think that former lovers or partners can be platonic friends and it has to do with being mature enough to handle something like that. I said, I think I can understand where she's coming from. And that as long as she was honest about nothing happening on the trip, I didn't think it would be a problem either. She replied, "No, nothing happened at all." I believed her again. About 3 weeks ago, I had made dinner reservations for us to have a nice meal just for a random occasion before the dinner. She told me that she contacted Matt and told him that she wouldn't be attending the concert that summer and that she feels out of respect for her and our relationship that they should reel back their communication with each other. That made me happy to hear, as I had cut off almost all the women friends' exes that I had out of respect for her. Quite some time ago, the conversation started to spiral at one point and I began to ask more focused questions around her trip with Matt. I asked her if he tried to kiss her. She said, no. I then decided to ask about sleeping arrangements. She said that he slept on the couch and she slept in the bed. I asked her, did you two ever share the bed? Any of the nights? She was quiet for a second and then said, yes, we shared a bed one of the nights, but he slept on his side. I said, did he try to cuddle with you at all or anything like that? She was quiet for several seconds. I knew then that something happened. I pressed harder and asked if they had hooked up. She finally admitted that they did. I felt sick, betrayed, and like a fool. I don't even think what happened was the worst part. I think the fact that she lied for 6+ months about it and tried to sell this as a purely platonic friendship was the worst. I demanded to look at her phone. I went through her phone and saw that they had pretty frequent communication, nothing seemingly inappropriate. However, when I found the text about this music festival in our hometown this summer, she said you should come. I asked her what she meant by that and she said I just meant he should go, not come with me. This felt like a bullshit excuse to me, but she still defends it to this day. I told her that I can't do this and we can't have a relationship without trust. And I left. She sent me text that night begging for another chance, telling me she was confused when it happened and she was very sorry. She told me that she felt pressured into a commitment with me and that she felt like she hadn't finished exploring the possibility with this other guy at the time. After thinking about those details and how great anything else had been between us, I decided to give us another shot. She has made significant changes that I had never asked for, but I still feel the pain of betrayal every single day. She has blocked his number and removed and blocked him off all platforms. She turned on tracking on her phone, read receipts and threw away the merchandise she bought on that trip to see Matt. She has limited her interactions with her male friends, as I have expressed that it just looks bad for her to have solo lunches with single male coworkers. She has been overly communicating when she goes on trips with girlfriends to make me feel more secure. I can tell a lot of these adjustments are really weighing on her and I do feel bad, but it doesn't make my pain go away. There are days where I feel this nagging, heavy weight on my soul. It's telling me that a relationship this early should not be this difficult. This is too much work and maybe I should quit. It has turned me into an insecure man, which I was never before. It has me questioning if I can ever trust her again. The biggest problem is that I love her and I see the potential for our relationship if we can move past this and pretend like it never happened. Most days, 90% plus of the time, I feel like I can show up in a way where it's not impacting me. These days are wonderful. We share so much love, laughs, and connect on so many levels. The days where it's impacting me, I feel like I shut down. I try to handle the thoughts myself, which she can tell, and it ultimately sabotages us in our day. I also find smaller issues triggering the big thing that happened. A couple of examples would be: she said, "You really turned a hoe into a housewife the other day for whatever reason." This triggered me. Because in my head, I said, why would you even say that? This ended up in a long heated discussion over that comment. Because I expressed to her how it triggered me and how I view her action on her trip as a whole action. And I think that was a trigger. Recently, she planned a river rafting trip with some friends of hers, 2 females, 1 single male friend of hers. I wasn't invited to come on the trip until after someone else decided they wanted to bring their partner. I expressed to her that I felt like I was an afterthought. And the fact that she was going on a rafting trip with a single guy in the group seems like a no-brainer to invite your boyfriend to come along with, especially after what happened and how we're trying to repair us. I know this is a huge wall of text. I'm sorry and thank you for reading. I don't know how to move forward. I love her. She was all I wanted in the beginning. I feel like what happened has changed me for the worst. Am I making this a bigger deal than it should be? I know if I keep going at this rate, I will implode our relationship with my insecurity. If that doesn't happen, then we will both be consistently miserable. And then my biggest fear of something happening again will likely come true. I could really use any advice on this matter. And also, if you think my feelings around what happened are valid or if I'm blowing this out of proportion.